Okay, so we're back. Now, I'd like to point out I just discovered there are some extra filter settings on OBS, so we're going to test out a noise suppression filter and see if that makes a huge difference. There's a few other in here, so if that doesn't help, I'll implement a few more, including noise gating and a few other objects. I also noticed there's now a gain filter on here. This might mean I might be able to take my microphone, which I've been avoiding using, and start using it again, which has really nice clarity and is not as bad. Because if it can up the gain on it, it will be usable. Anyways, ignoring the video folder, let's get back to working on here. Now, last video we went ahead and converted the launcher parts. The translation keys did not transfer over, so we're gonna have to figure out what we messed up here. Most likely we're gonna have to just change this name here. We want to make sure we change this one rather than localizations because we already have localizations for a few different languages in here. We want to make sure that they stay consistent. I'm going to say that these are probably just called launcher parts instead of what we have, which is ICBM launcher parts. So we're going to just scroll down here and just kind of look for them here real quick. There's decorative launch pad, which is what we're going to convert next. Yeah, they're just launcher parts. They're not even named any special either. They're just, that's what they're called. Okay, so we just put that in there, and that'll fix our localization, because after all, this will turn into this right here. The next thing we need to fix is why pick block isn't working on the standard launcher. So this could be very simple as, I don't think we have pick block on here. I think we just changed the 2 stack. We don't have a 2 stack. We don't have a pick block. Yeah, it's literally just coming down to the fact that I think it's I tile item or it's I item. There is a listener for this. It's like I something items or I tile stack or I stack something. Oh man, I've lost a whole interface. It's I block stack listener. There we go. Okay, so this is gonna have pretty much everything we need in here. Pick block's the one we want. I'm surprised there's just not a 2 stack in here. Let's add a 2 stack. So we go default item stack 2 stack. And this will just return 2 stack. Yeah, because that'll work. There we go. So that'll just note that this is not a normal method that's going to be used anywhere else. It's just used for simplistic callbacks. Because what we'll do is you just stick it in here, and it doesn't matter where it goes. You'll just go public listener, do that, and we just want to return a stack containing that code we just threw in here a couple seconds ago. Right here's what we want. We want this object. What we want to go is make sure this isn't null, because if this is ever null and we return a item stack with a null item in it, it will break the game. So you want to make sure it's not null. You want to return new item stack. This will be block drop 1 and then 0. Actually, is it 1 and 0 or do we want to do 1 1? No, I think it is 1 0 because if we open up the localization, yeah, the computer is 0, so we're good on that. And that should fix pick block. And our localization should fix with that, and then maybe we just need to fix the underside texture too. That's the last thing. That one should be not too difficult to do. That's probably a bug on the other thing too as well. Let me actually go ahead and go stare at the ICBM folder and see if we have. Oh, that's Actually, since I'm in here, I threw this out on Patreon, and for those of you that actually do subscribe to Patreon, I do actually post Patreon only posts now, and I'm going to be posting posts that go to only certain Patreon levels. I hate to do this, but it will help those it's meant to reward those who are helping. It's what it's meant to do. But when we go in here, there's two new machines I've designed up now. We have the missile lift. Yeah, I know it's a really crappy doodle. If we go into the drawing, though, it's actually slightly better. If we get this to pop up real quick. So this is going to be a machine that will be implemented after the 1.8 update. So we're going to have a cargo lift that'll go up and down. This is either going to be an ICBM or an assembly line. It's more than likely going to end up in an assembly line just because of reusability, because you could stick any cart in this and it would go up and down. It's not going to be an actual entity system, so the likelihood of you being able to put a player or a zombie in there is not going to happen, because this whole shaft will be blocked out, so you can't fall into it. And then the cart is just going to be a 3D model that just goes up and down. And then when a cart enters it, the 3D model will take over the rendering for the cart and its contents, and it'll pull it up and it'll shoot it out. So we got shoot out. So you'll have stuff that'll go in, it'll go out. You have a controller, so you can control if it's going up and down, control what floor it goes to, and everything else. You can do multi-floors. This is designed to improve missile storage, is what it's meant to do. So that way you can have like an underground storage bunker for your missiles, then pull the missile up, then bring it to your launchers and fire out. So when somebody nukes you, you don't lose your entire stockpile of missiles. You just lose a couple launchers. On top of this, oh shoot, I closed that full. Well, actually I can open it up over here. We're going to be doing a missile rack. I've got a few different prototype designs for this. I don't got any pretty designs for this one. But I'm looking at a rotary design, which I crossed off here because I'm maybe not going to do it, because if you do the multi-block for it, it'll look something like down here, where you'll have a ton of multi-blocks surrounded by a core, and then you'll have missiles going around. The advantage of it is that it's a rotary style system, and it'll make storage much easier. And then I've got version 2 over here, which is just a clip style system. So you'll have missiles that'll go up to the top, and you'll load one and it'll cycle to the top, and you'll load another, cycle to the top, and then it'll gravity feed back down, so that way you can unload it, and the controller will decide if it's loading and unloading. There's a few other design concepts that come to mind. There might be a hopper version, which can only gravity feed down, which might be the version 1 of this design. And then you'll have a tier 2 version, which will be the one that can cycle up and down. And then if we add this one will be the tier 3 design. So you'll have multiple different ways to store your missiles down the road, including just flat stockpiles. So we'll make a stockpile system. I've already showed the models for this a couple times in my videos, where we already have stockpiles for those. So let's go ahead and get back to testing here. There's a lot of content I do want to implement. I mean, there's tons and tons of content. I want to replicate the NASA's Apollo launch rover. See that big, huge, massive machine that can move space shuttles and stuff? I want to do that. That's something that will be implemented here. Anyways, if we pick block, we now get launcher part back. And if we place it and pick block again, it's working. And that looks nice. We don't have whale or anything, so I can't tell what the tooltip is on it, but it's functional. I can't tell if the crafting recipes are working, but we already know that one of the recipes is broken by default. Actually, the thought process just occurred to me. This recipe shouldn't load. Yeah, actually, you know what? This recipe is more expensive than this recipe, so I'm okay with them both loading. I'll revisit it later if it becomes a balancing problem. So anyways, with that done, we just have to go and move on to the next block. So we can close this out. Oh yeah, we still need to do listeners on it. So let's go ahead and close all this, and then let's go find our listener, because we'll have to register the listener. And how does this actually work? Let's do a look over here. So we got a wrench check, we got a meta check. We just get the height, make sure our height's a certain height, and that's pretty much it. This actually doesn't even care what block you go on, so this is actually reusable code. We'll save that for later to break this out into doing something different. But what we want to do is we need to make a class at the bottom of this. So public static. You do static, by the way, because how internal classes work is you're basically making an object. So they work almost identically to how these work. So what you're doing is you're making a internal field that happens to be a class. Although the compiler does treat it differently, this is kind of how it works in runtime. So you get class, and this would be builder implements iTile event listener builder. And you just implement the methods, and why does it want the get keys thing? Kind of just want this one. So we really got to do the get keys or get key. Okay. So this is going to be launcher part listener, and then we build new launcher part listener. And this is not a tile entity one. We actually want this to be a block, so we can change this to block. And we just got to register it, so we can go down into ICBM here, double click, and just load our listener. So this would be JSON block listener processor dot add builder, and then we want to do new launcher part listener builder. Yep, there we go. So that'll register it, so that means it'll function now. Now we just have to go down to our launcher parts, and we just have to add that listener. So we're going to come over here, we want to copy this. These are forced to lowercase, so that way we don't have to worry about how we type them in. So all we have to do is go up to our listeners here and add it, and we're done. There's no variables for it, so we can just do a single line. And let's go ahead and debug again and make sure that works before we go to the next one. Okay. Drank myself some tea while I was waiting on that to load. Oh, it's still kind of loading, but you guys get the point. This noise filter seems to be working. I'm not seeing it spike up and down as much as I'm doing stuff and moving around. It probably still is picking up certain things like me rustling and moving around, and probably if I drink my tea, it'll definitely pick that up. But yeah, so we'll get this finished up and ensure this is fully working, and then we'll do the decorative blocks next. To be all honest, I'm probably going to go through the decorative blocks into military-based decor or a separate decorative mod, because ICBM, even though is about missiles and stuff, I don't want to put a lot of decorative stuff in here. I do plan to have some decorative items in here. For example, a wide variety of launching consoles will be implemented. But even then, those might actually be thrown off into an add-on, because the ideal is I want to make some bare-bone mods that have just enough content that they're fully functional to play, and they have everything you need to play in them, but then don't have a lot of junk in there, so that way if you're trying to make a World War II themed pack and you want ICBM to look World War II-ish, you're not getting a lot of Cold War era tech with it, even though all this is Cold War era tech, so you're going to have a hard time trying to make that work. But the ideal is that that is a doable object. There's your launcher frames here, put this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta update the Y key too, because I think the Y key says 6. I'm losing my voice. Okay. We're not getting a callback on the rotation click here. So let's go ahead and put this here. And that's not working. So we do have listeners. And we have a pick block. That pick block override, by the way, doesn't work, even though it's there. That's probably why I never did the pick block, because I was going to use the override for it. Let's see. I mean, it's there. It should work. Launch your part listener. It's registered. So let's go ahead and we're going to put a thing there. And then we're going to go into here. And we're just going to look look for when it loads up and just make sure it loads. And the next thing after that is that it potentially could be the listener itself not being created properly. We know we are creating a launcher part listener here, so that's good, but it could be something like this where the activation spot's not being registered properly or something weird's happening. But we got a debug line there. We weren't hitting that no matter what we were doing. So that means we weren't getting a callback from it. So we want to just kind of debug things. So part with the JSON system not being tested properly is we would put JUnit testing everywhere in here because we want to make sure that every part of it is testable, every part works. Translation keys, by the way, if you haven't seen them up there, I need to work on those too. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be handled here to get the JSON system to work properly. Because what we're doing is we're creating a modding API. So we're doing what Minecraft should have done with their game to allow mods to function is a JSON system like this. Because most of, not if all content can be converted to a listener and JSON based system where you're defining your block via JSON and then you're using listeners to activate all your stuff. Or events, because the reality of it is most people are like, oh, but you could be using an event system. Events and listeners operate literally the same way. How it changes is that I would fire an event off and then a listener would grab the event and use it. In this case, I'm instead of firing the event off to some object that then goes and finds all my listeners, I'm just grabbing the listeners directly and trying to use them. So everything I'm doing, I could be firing through an event system and then having some kind of system to detect all the listeners I need. So yeah, we're going in here. It's getting our stuff here. It's added. So if we go to our builders, we should see launcher part listener. That's all good. Okay, next break line. Okay, so that's a rotation array. So we just want to, okay, launcher part listener. Here's what we're looking for. It's primitive, key to lowercase. So launcher part listener. If builders.contain, created. We have no data. Block gets a listener added to it. So we go to add listener. Keys on the listener. What are the keys? Activation. Cool. It then creates our listener array, puts our object in there, caches it, and we're good to go. So that all functions properly fine. So we're not having any problems with the registry system, which it's been tested well enough that I didn't think there was a problem, but when you're doing testing, you got to test everything. It's part of that weird scientific process that nobody does. To be honest to God, if like enough people did the scientific process, we wouldn't have any problems. People wouldn't get sick as often. People wouldn't be crying over vaccines causing autism. Really, my theory, by the way, when it comes to autism, is the reason why more people have autism now than they had so many years ago is that the science behind detecting it has gotten better. And this is the same thing why I talk about cancer and everything when I mention it to my buddies. The reason I believe we're actually seeing a large increase beyond a significant factor is that our technology to detect this stuff has gotten better and better and better. Now, some of this stuff is probably being caused by external effects. For example, if somebody smokes when they're having a kid, they could easily cause damage to their kid. That's a given. Same with drinking and eating like really crappy. Toxins in the environment could definitely cause cancer and stuff like that. But when you're talking about like normal people that are living decent lives and stuff, and you're detecting a higher rate of cancer or higher rate of any kind of illness in them, it may just be because the technology to detect it has just improved. You gotta think now we have like really, really cool scientific stuff. Ah, I know why it's not working. Watch this. If I shift right click, oh, that's not gonna work. Okay, you're not gonna work. The reason why this isn't working is that part. Because if we put a break line here, it won't work. The activation system doesn't know how to function. I can fix this. Okay, so what we failed to do in this whole entire system is that if anytime we detect a wrench, we capture it and we don't let it function. So what we want to do is if we get an activation here, so I'm going to go if activated, then we want to return true. So if we don't activate, so if we don't get anything that's going to grab the event listener, then we do not want to return, so that way we give the chance for the GUI to open, and we give a chance for the activation handlers to work. And to be honest, I need to move the GUI system to a listener if you guys didn't notice the to-do mark, because we had an issue in a couple of our videos where the GUI takes priority over the activation listeners, and it's actually the activation listeners should take priority over the GUIs. To be honest, we could put them before each other, but I'm going to put this at the top. Recycle that variable. Because I have a feeling I might change some of these methods to actually let all of this run, and what it'll simply go is, hey, we've already been activated once before. Do you still want to fire your event? And if they go, yes, we want to make sure we block whatever you just try to do. What broke in here? Okay, that broke. This needs to just be transitioned to a wrench handler, but by changing that code we just changed, we should be able to do this now. And we can. So if we follow this through, it should get our block above us, which is block error apparently. Yeah. Something broke. Okay, so why did this break? What is not working appropriately? Probably having a rounding error. Shouldn't have a rounding error because this, if we go all the way up to here. Oh, yeah, no, we have a floor thing here. We're just gonna do this manually real quick. I don't know why we aren't already. Probably because of laziness. There's no reason to cast and convert things if you already have the number directly. This means we are going to have to restart Minecraft. And if we're going to do that, we might as well come over here and yeah. Oh, this is the wrong thing. We come over here, we might as well remove this to the iWrench handler. So, iWrench listener. And that should just pretty much be the same exact code, except the only difference is it already detected it's a wrench for you. And it should already handle all the wrench behavior, so we can get rid of a lot of this right here. Oh, we don't damage the wrench in here. That's weird. Does this actually call for damage? It handles wrench, true. Okay, so this iWrench, handle right click, on right click, activated, damage wrench, yeah, whatever. The damage wrench thing is, I think, only for IC2 stuff. And close that. Should be fixed now. If it's not fixed, we'll work. Oh, you know what? This is the reason why it's not working. Shoot. Copy and paste error for the win. Okay, I think we're good. That should fix it, because what it was doing is translating by the Y, so we were like 20 blocks up, so 20 blocks to the east would have been, yeah, something completely, utterly different. This noise suppression looks like it is working. I'll have to edit the video afterwards, and well, not really edit it, watch it, because the reality of it is the only editing software I have. If I can go, oh, I don't have Steam on. Actually, let's not access it through there. I think I have it on my console. No, I don't actually. It's probably why I open it through Steam, is I can never find it, and I've got it set it up to load through Steam. Close. Oh, this is going to be dumb. Okay, so under software, yeah, here we go. So this is the system I end up using like half the time to edit videos. It is literally just, you can cut videos and you can resize them and a few other things. You can't do almost anything else with it. It doesn't have a lot of stuff. Like, you can set your scaling for it, you can fix your audio. There's decoding options, there's zoom options. It's definitely not any of the high-tech stuff. I want to get one of the better softwares, but I'm still not confident enough I can afford it consistently. I mean, the donations I'm getting from you guys on Patreon are amazing, but most of that is just to keep the lights on at the moment. Which, when you consider the fact my computer sucks up tons of, like, I think it's doing like 500 watts an hour, which is about 3 cents, and then you times that by, alright, let's do the math real quick. Actually, no, it's not that much when you think about it. 24 times, let's say 30, divided by 100. Ah, that's not right. Try this again. 0.3 times 24. Wow, almost $1 a day. Jesus. Wow. Cost me $21 a month just to run my computer. This isn't even including the monitors. No wonder I have to pay so much for my power bill. Okay, so if we shift right click this, standard launcher has been created. I don't believe you though, because I'm not seeing the top update. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something's not right. If I can click and put a missile in it, then maybe. No, it didn't build right. Okay. We're gonna have to debug this all the way through, because I have a feeling it created its launcher somewhere over there. Okay, is server count. Okay, block above us is a block tile, which would be the launcher frame. Okay, plus count. Next pause above us, plus count. Okay, we're detecting if the block in front is clear, which it should be. Get block, standard launcher, and we're trying to place it at our exact location. So new pause, set, world. So, 66, negative 183, new pause. World is not null, that's good. World is client though. That's why it's not working. Yep. So the math is all right, it's just, it's trying to place stuff server side, or not, wrong side. Okay. Create now? No? Okay, we're gonna have to debug it anyways, because something's still not right. Okay, so we know it's detecting everything right. It's gotta be this section now that's not quite working. I think we can just call set block. I'm pretty sure there was a set block in the tile list there. There's a set meta. Okay. We'll need the pause location then. I can actually do this, and it'll work the same. Set block, world, launcher block, side. Okay. So we just kind of want to reload real quick and then test it. Okay, so it's detected all 5 blocks, because if we go look at count, it's 5 blocks tall. And then launcher block is the correct block. Nothing's happened here, so let's take a look at this guy. And let's consider doing an if statement here. This action needs to be up here. And we'll go else unexpected error. Trying to make sure that that doesn't sound like it's the user's fault, because the problem is when you get a user will read these error messages and like, oh, I did something wrong. Well, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It's the system's broken. It's... Oh, it created this time. Derp. Alright, break the bottom block. Place. Change rotation. Standard launcher created. It's working now, and I didn't change anything. I hate when that happens, if you don't change a single line of code and like everything starts to work again. So the only thing I did was change this location. So I don't see how this could be any different. So go to the tile listener. I mean, we're X, I, Y. These all give the correct positioning. Doubles give this correct positioning too, because it's still an X. And there shouldn't be any rounding errors because the pause system handles for those. So unusual. It's working though, so I mean, can't complain. I guess we move on to working on the launcher base blocks, which let's go ahead and place some of these into the world so we can ensure that they do function properly when we go to convert them. So we'll get rid of everything in my hotbar. Okay, so this is the north edge. I made these specifically, by the way, for this exact application, just to kind of decorate this launcher, make it look cool and nice. Yeah, west edge. East. They're not exactly user-friendly. I need to do connected textures on them, all honestly. But I was like, do that later. Connected textures are not the hardest thing in the world to do, but they're not exactly the easiest thing either. They're a bit tedious in my opinion. I need, so we did, I think I did this one yet? Oh yeah, well, it is right there. Oh, let's see. Just grab them all and we'll figure it out as we go. Oh, cool, I got that one. Nope. Nope. Okay, cool. So we got them all placed now, and if they don't change any, we converted them correctly. So I'm gonna rebuild this guy so we can see him render. There we go. It's this is not exactly how it's meant to be built. You're actually meant to bring it in a little bit more, but I want to see the edge on this. So go ahead and leave that as is, and this will let us check some loading and saving and everything else too. So we'll go ahead and close it all, and we're going to start to convert the conversion process. So this will be Launchpad. We'll go ahead and open parts up, and we're just going to copy these top two, and we have no crafting recipe, so don't have to worry about that. And open this up. Okay, 2020. Okay, Decor Launchpad is what our name is. It's a good thing we grabbed that. We then want to... Why do you mean you can't find any usage? probably hit up the launcher frame in the next video, although I think this might be the last video for today. Okay, did I just edit the, yeah, I edited the wrong file. Confusion. So, I want to edit that stuff. There we go. Yeah, it's one of the downsides of having multiple JSON files open is that you can easily make a mistake. And this is where when people dog on developers like, oh, but that's such an easy bug that you changed a 3 to a 4. It's like, it may look easy, but you got to think of how it happened in the first place and what it usually ends up happening. Like, especially if you get like a 3 to 4 thing, somebody went to go type hit 3 and their finger fat forward, and then they have no test to detect if that exact spot is changed. So JUnit testing does come into play to check for a lot of those failures, but you have to set the test up first, and they're never exactly self-evident is a word for it, I guess. So this is going to be a multi-block. The multi-blocks are not exactly well tested, so we're going to end up figuring out if they do function properly. The ones placed in the world should work. It's going to be the creative tab. It's going to be the trick. Make sure that's down here. Cool. And yeah, so now we just got to do all of this. Fun times. So how we're going to do this is we're going to start with a base object, and this is just going to be texture ID. And then we're going to want to close that tab so I stop opening it. Pad center is our base texture. So we're going to have a base object, and then we're just going to copy and paste that base object over and over again. So we have 7 or 8 actually. We have 8 different sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason I'm only doing 7 is our base block is our center block, which is surprisingly, why is there not, there's a top one. Okay, how's this work? So we got top, we got pad center, which is our base, then we got top, bottom, left, right. Oh, I think our base block is +1 off the list. Okay. That's dumb. But I'm not going to argue against it. I am going to fix it though. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make our center block 15 because I don't know why it ended up that way in the first place, where we have 8 and then block 9 is your center. So we come down here and we don't need to change the center block's render code because everything will extend that. And then this will be, I believe, parent, and then it'll be block. And that way we only have to change a single ID, which would be, I believe, top. I think it supports top. I might be wrong. If it doesn't, I will fix it to support top so I don't have to redo this. Okay, so our first ID, which is going to be block.0, is going to be this. And we still have to program all these. I'm actually, you know what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to fix the texture system that if it can't find it, it will attempt to map it off of the texture registry. Because at this point, I don't want to keep trying to access a lot of junk. You know what, I'm going to have to recopy and paste all these. I just realized that, so I should have just fixed this first. And then copied and pasted these all. Actually, I need one more of these too. I didn't think about it. Okay. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to do meta values here. How you would actually end up doing this is you would actually give a name to each one of these. But right now it doesn't matter. So top, bottom, left, right. Top, bottom, left. And we're just going to copy and paste each one of these. Because I'm not going to memorize these so I can type them in. Okay, that gets all of our stuff copied over. Anything else we need in here? Nope. This is handled for us. How is this actually handled for us? I didn't think about this. We have to define subtypes, and I'm trying to remember how to do it. It's going to be block, meta. So this is constructed when it finds subtypes by the JSON processor. Okay, so if it has subtypes, we make a subtype object. So we're going to need an array of subtypes. And yeah, it's a JSON array. So we're going to come up here, and we don't have a listener. And this is going to be the same as a rock when it comes to material. So yeah, subtypes, object, bracket for an array, and then I got to go figure out how this works because it's been a while. So we loop through the array. Each one of them has to be a JSON object. We create a metadata, read a meta entry. So we got a meta and a localization. So we have to define each of the metas real quick. So we're just going to go ahead and get that taken care of. So this will be meta and then 0. So that'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 objects right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is 15. That'll work. And then we could add a handler to fix any of the middle entries. Although I can't think, I actually might add some more decorative things to here because I can think of doing maybe like a center block, maybe a crosshair. Some diagonals would be nice. Yeah, I gotta do a crafting system for this, and that's where I kind of want to throw some military-based decor. Is we're gonna implement like painting machines in military-based decor, so that way when you want to go make a certain decorative style block, all you gotta do is stick like say concrete in there and go, I want to paint it green, and it paints it green. If you want to put like a Russian flag on it, you just go, okay, green with Russian flag, and you're done. Or green with American flag. Okay, so I don't think I need to do localizations for these, so we'll go ahead and ignore that. So equals localization, we don't care. If it has meta, process unknown entry. Process unknown entry are done by the subprocessors, which is going to be things like recipes, extra listeners if we actually implement them. Right now, listeners are on the core block. Material overrides. There's a lot of like property overrides you can do with the block meta, but I think that's all we need. Because if we go to really, there's no subblocks in here? Wow, this system is not finished. I never finished the metadata for a lot of this stuff because, well, never got done. Okay, we want to make sure we don't go ahead of the toString. So get that over. I think I was planning on doing them all through listeners at some point. You legitimately could do the whole entire meta thing via listeners, but I'm not going to do that. So we'll do this real quick, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go for int I, well, actually, yeah, we'll just go metadata meta, because these should already be ordered. We'll just call it M, so we fix that. Let's refactor this. Metadata for values. Exclude all comments. And that way I can call this meta. And then what you do with this, you just go list.add new item stack item 1 and then meta.index, I think is actually how it's stored. Yep, index. Don't need to do anything else with that. Probably want to test it later to make sure it works. Let's take a look at pick block and make sure pick block works and everything else works. Get pick block. To get pick block should, in theory, just get the item stack. So grab the item from the drop. Then it'll make sure it's an item block, and it'll get the damage value of the drop. Damage drop. Okay, we want to override that one. Make sure all of this works properly. So we'll do meta. And then our item block meta should do the localizations for us. Yep. We'll have to toy with it though. There's probably a couple things that are still missing. But let's go ahead and nuke our launchpad object, which is up here somewhere. So it'll be content, launcher, block launchpad. Nothing left to keep from there, so we'll get rid of it. Hit build, make project to make sure we don't have any errors. The launch frame will be the next one we'll hit up, which we'll probably do tomorrow. And right now we'll hit launch and make sure our localizations work properly. We can place the block, and I'll come up with crafting recipes for these later, but it's really coming down to more than likely is going to be just, well, I'm trying to think of how to say that. Yeah, more likely just start a military base decor. So I need to go through military base decor, I need to convert it as well, and I need to show Hinneman how to use the system. So I'm probably going to make some tutorials on how to use the JSON system from start to finish. This will be probably part of my How to Mod 101 series whenever I make it. Although I'm not going to call it 101, it'll be like... There'll be like modding 100, and then it'll be modding 200. So modding 100 will cover vanilla modding, so modding with Forge, and then modding 200 will cover Volts Engine modding. I'll treat them like they're college classes, pretty much. So I wanted, that's the reason why I'm kind of delaying on making them, is I want to design that course from start to finish. That way, if I build it properly, I can go offer this up to my university so they could actually physically teach that as a real class that gives credits and everything. Because imagine that, you go take a modding class, and what you do is you orientate the class to be taught as a Java 101 class. So what you're using modding to teach Java, but you're still teaching them an applicable skill of making mods. So they could go and take that 101 knowledge and directly apply it, where most of the 101 courses right now, what you learn is useful. I mean, don't get me wrong, everything you learn is actually useful in college if you actually pay attention and look at it. But the projects you do and stuff are useless. Like, I don't need to know how to add like 15 numbers together. That's actually very little application. Okay, our textures aren't loading. We got the IDs wrong, most likely. Is our pick block working? It crashed. Saved me the time from closing it though. Silver lining and everything. Get unlocalized name. Replace. Okay, there is no localization. So we want to actually check for a null point here because I don't want to force localizations. Okay, that looks good, so that'll fix that part, because that was just a derp. Get localization is a block thing. Oh, there's no meta value in here. Okay, that needs fixed. That's gonna have to be... It's gonna have to be handled inside of the launcher block, I think. Actually, where is this declared at? Okay, this is done in block base, and this is made from the localization. Replace name with the name of the item passed in. Replace mod with the mod. And we have no meta. So what we want to do is we want to grab, if we're block meta, we want to add the metadata entry to the end of it. And we're going to have to probably implement a few various additions to this to make this work properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, localization. Oh, can I not access that? Okay, because it's in the block property file. That's the reason I can't access that. You know what? If it's in the block property file, I know how to fix this to make this work better. So we go like that. And right down here, if we know we have subtypes, we go block property data dot localization plus equals dot what is it, money sign meta. Okay, that probably needs to be keyed out. Where's our block meta? Meta localization. Okay, that yeah, this whole system is weird. Okay, so we want to key this line out, and we go to block meta, and we want to go public static final string meta local key, and you do that. I know it looks a little weird to have a longer value to replace this, but it reduces confusion. So I have another developer come in here and have to look at this. He'd be like, "What is that?" And we'd be like, "Well, that is the thing that you do to make things work." Of course, I'm gonna have to actually do this though. So block meta localization, and that way we have no confusion. And we would, of course, we could replace all of our stuff with that, but that's the only one that really needs to be handled. That should fix localization issues, and now we just need to fix our render, which is, I don't know what's wrong with it. That's correct. Probably I've got this wrong. Probably the top block piece. So this would be in the core, this would be client, JSON, not textures, it's a render JSON processor. Okay, so we know for a block, okay, it handles sides, but it doesn't handle like top-down type thing. So we can implement handling for this by doing like this real quick. We just go if has top, then you just kind of go render state something. Let me take a look at forward real quick. So top would be 1. And this would be whatever the key is. And how do you get the key? Yeah, you do this weird thing. Okay. Actually, we'll just copy this whole thing and we'll do this. And you do the same thing for the bottom. So this would be top, aka up. And this would be bottom, which would be 0. And to go with this, we'll go ahead and do the full word top bottom as well. So, I think it's spelled right. It's a sad day when I gotta go confirm if I've spelled simple words right. Okay, yep. That way we got different handling for various different things. That'll theoretically fix the top sides, and then I think the sides are actually working properly because we got texture ID real quick. We'll just check this, and hopefully this uses a parent system, which that's the trick. I don't know if the blocks are set up for parent or layer rendering. We might have to fix that in a second. And we're almost at an hour anyways. Wow. So let's make sure we got at least texture ID correct. So that'll get our whole side our whole surface should look like this then. It's going to be all these, because these take priority. And if the parent is not working, so we need to go to textures, nope, block. block state. You have a render use extend render state, which has an ID system. Public string parent. Model state extends texture state, which then extends render state. Model state has a string parent. So we're going to make sure everything has a parent object now. So we're going to go back to our render system, which is not this. I don't care about that. Don't need that. I need this object. Okay, so we want this right here. Right now it's called render parent. We're just going to transition it to be parent at this point. And we're going to come all the way down to the bottom for this. And do this. So we'll have something called parent. And then I don't think I need to cast anything. I do. So we want to go, if this is an extension of render state. Because it's doing the, right now it's doing basically the interface driven version, which is the reason why we can't just access stuff directly. Actually, is it? Oh yeah, we don't actually need to. Okay. Apparently, we actually are using the base object. What's going on? Oh, get a get Boolean here. Actually, hold on. Where's the model object? I copied the wrong thing. I want to make sure it's not called parent as well. Okay, that's right here. Well, we can just copy this, put this up here, and we can get rid of the casting system. And we don't need to do that anymore. Set parent of state. And that'll allow us to get access to that for all objects now. So every object can now have a parent object. And we'll just do this real quick. So this would be super object or parent. Pretty much what it's used for. It allows you to share state data. So then in here, what we want to do is if we don't have a texture for something. So, So you want to go, okay, if parent doesn't equal null, well, then we want to go and get the parent, of course. How do we get the parent, actually? This is handled in the render JSON processor, I believe, already. And I'm going to do this real quick. When it comes to the parent setting, even though every object has a parent object, we actually are going to have to handle each one of these individually. Because you don't want to set, say, a block state's parent to a model state because you're not going to be able to use any of the data it provides. So you want to go, okay, state doesn't, yeah, we'll just copy all this. So copy this. Actually, no, we want to go block state equals render state, and just cast it real quick. Cast, and then we're going to make a variable here. Or actually, we're going to put this into. Actually, you know what? We can make this reusable. So we're going to go to parent state here. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to go all the way up to the render state, and we're going to put this right here. ID for render state, and this would be the actual super object. So we just need to copy this and put this here, and that will work. And then we need to go back here and finish typing our stuff out. So this needs to be instance of render state, and just cast this stuff. And I've actually been told by professors that you shouldn't worry about casting. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's like, oh, if you know you're going to be using this data, don't worry about casting, don't worry about cast checks. I'm like, yeah, that's how you get bugs later in the production life of your project, is what I mentally said, but didn't say it to the professor. We're good though. So that should work. We should be able to set all of our render states now, and we should be able to go to the block state and go, if parent state doesn't equal null, then we want to return parent state dot get texture data site. And what this will do is you can have multiple parents. So that this parent object can have a parent, it has a parent, it has a parent. So you can do all of your texture configurations, all that stuff through this. And it allows this to work. So this will take priority. So your base object takes priority on the texture IDs and stuff. Then your parent can fill in the gaps if it's missing any of the object data. Put a separation between this so they don't look like they're connected. And okay, cool. Launch this. We'll test this. If this works, then I'll go ahead and close this video out and make some more videos later. Probably not today though. I don't know. Might make one more. I'm not quite sure how this exactly is going to work out. All I know is I need to go make some food. I didn't make food before this one video, which is unfortunate. I'm going to say my microphone is actually picking up my computer right now. So I'm guessing that noise suppression filter is not working perfectly. The testing I did before making this video, it was working really nicely. I even laid my mic on top of my computer to test it. It didn't pick up anything, which says quite a bit about OBS. That means they're doing a really good job at updating and adding more features as they go. So now one of the biggest things I looked for when I got this and I was looking for plugins, I was looking for plugins that let you do what TeamSpeak did and do really nice noise filtration and echo suppression and stuff like that. So especially if you've heard me in these videos, if I walk around my house, you'll hear my voice echo off the walls. The reason you don't hear it as bad in this room is because there's enough debris and various objects sitting around the room that when my voice hits those objects, it breaks apart into smaller waves and then doesn't echo back. But when you're in a nice big room, which doesn't have a lot of objects in it, say like my kitchen, for example, it echoes really nicely off that ceiling. Living room's not much better for that either. But living room is supposed to do that though. It didn't work. That didn't work either. Still like a mod name and then number 5.name.name. What is it name? Oh man. Okay, so we got a few different issues to fix here. Let's see if that's at least working in the creative tab. It's got all the items. Nope, we crashed. Update screen, get block subdata. What we want to do is go if meta doesn't equal null. That'll fix that part. When it comes to the rendering, I want to say the block states are broken, but I'm going to call it in for this video and go do something else, and I'll get back to working on this here later.